Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bomber Banter. It is round 9, FIONA'S forecast. That time of week again, we go through the upcoming game against the Swans and all the other little segments that you love. So without wasting any more time, hello to you, Solution.
How are you, Fiona? Just giving you the gang signs.
Yes, on trend, on brand for you.
Yeah, just again, I have to address another mask criticism. Somebody last week said I had a pair of Y fronts on my head. I don't have that big a head, so just that's a ridiculous comment to make. This is a pair of old unwashed budgie smugglers.
Oh, that's what a beautiful imagery we are starting the forecast off with.
Correct. So Fiona's forecast is back. It's round 9, is it not?
It is.
So we've got all the usual segments. We've got the forecast changes. We'll try and predict who the Houdini of the week is, who escapes the axe. I reckon there might be a couple of candidates this week, given our injuries. We'll also look at the Sitting Joe, Smoking Joe, and predict, and then finish with a couch question. Have I missed anything?
No, well done.
All right. So before we, or as you would say, without further ado, quick comment on the game for the forecast listeners last week. We got there in the end. Don't ask me how.
I mean, we did everything we could to lose it, didn't we? You didn't jump. I didn't see. You didn't jump on the fan cams, but it was relatively calm before. It didn't really mirror how I felt internally. I felt very jittery. But yeah, I think upon reflection, I'm proud of the resilience, given, we were a couple of rotations down and Goldie essentially was like playing with one less player anyway as well in that last quarter. So I am proud of the resilience. I wish the third quarter had never happened. I've watched the replay a couple of times, and that it's just that third quarter that we really let ourselves down in all the metrics, and with the eye test as well. We allowed the Kangaroos back in. We allowed them use of the corridor. We didn't flood them. Our pressure was down. And we almost lost it because of it.
Yeah. Just on the post-game, I would urge people to check out your fan cam, because all the contributors were fantastic, but Rowan Connolly in particular, that was very instructive for me, because as somebody who thinks we're on the right course and we have our strategy correct, Rowan kind of provided evidence for that, I thought. So I thought it was a really compelling sort of, I think it was nearly an hour of Rowan. Is that about right? It was tremendous. So I would urge anyone listening to this to go and catch up on that fan cam.
Yeah, it's always good to get validation about something that you believe, because a belief is not necessarily a fact. It's an opinion and based on faith more than, evidence. And so just hearing a bit of what Rowan had to say in terms of the real clarity that he got from the club during the week was really helpful. And I think, the club wants the fans to be realistic, but also enjoy the year as well.
Also, by the way, subscribe, motherfuckers. 2,000 listens, 1,500 listens. Get on and subscribe.
Yes, if you're just lurking, that's just not nice. You should absolutely press the subscribe button. Exactly. Please do that. It will help the channel get momentum and help me create bigger and better things. So please hit that subscribe button.
So projected changes. Now, obviously, we've got some injuries. So who comes in
Look, I think Hayes is a foregone conclusion. I did make my way down to the VFL on Friday to have a look at some of our youngsters and get a bit of a feel as to whether I think any of them could come in. Hayes was there and he was on the boundary, but in his tracksuit. So that, to me, the fact that he's perfectly healthy and they held him back tells me that that his position is one that we don't have further depth for in terms of replacing Ridley, and we just could not afford for him to get any kind of niggle because we needed to bring him in on Saturday. So I think that's a foregone conclusion. He's a pretty like for like for Ridley, although that's the one I'm most worried about in terms of covering Ridley's composure, his leadership back there. He's our sweeper, our general. I'm a bit worried about covering him. I know you would agree with that.
Correct. And I don't think Lav is the answer. Whether he's back or not, I think he's back this week. One more week? Okay.
Oh, he's definitely
I
not.
agree.
Yeah, I just know how highly you rate Ridley back there.
Oh, look, I don't think I'm Robinson Crusoe there. Like, it's the composure he brings makes everybody better. And, you know, you've pointed out he doesn't do it via instructing, via pointing, via telling people where to run. I think he leads by example and leads from the front. So that's a savage loss. Yeah.
So I think essentially, I think you can jot that one down in the book, that change, Lewis Hayes. And I think he's probably more suited than Ridley to stack up and match up against a direct opponent. Ridley's more that sweeper and interceptor. So I think if you give him a task and you tell him that you're going to match up on, you know, whoever it is, McLean, McDonald, whoever it is, I think that could be good for him, keep him focused rather than just telling him to be an interceptor. That can be quite daunting in your first game, like just being told to go out in an intercept and read the play, you know.
So we're also losing a faux wingman / third forward in Harry Jones, and we're losing a small forward in Gresh. This is without any consideration of omissions. So who's going to replace those? Is Shield back? Is he likely to come in?
I wouldn't bring Shield in. Shield is not a replacement for Gresham at all. Shield is a replacement for Sardis. If you think Sardis doesn't get to hold his spot, he's the replacement or the substitution for Sardis, and I would prefer to continue Sardis on his merry way. You've got to get Caldwell back in, so potentially we don't bring anyone in for Gresh and we just bring Caldwell in and Hobbs plays forward. I would love to see one of the younger kids. I doubt we're going to have two debutants. I highly doubt it, especially losing elder players. Jones is obviously young but has a few years under his belt. Ridley's one of our leaders and our older players, and Gresham is on the older side. So I don't think you can bring in two debutants and possibly another, you know, and Caldwell. So I highly doubt a Wicker, Andy Day-Wicks or Zach Johnson are going to come in as well. It's possible, but I think we're just going to bring in Caldwell, shuffle the rotations in the midfield and forward, and then we'll probably bring Al Hawley in to cover for Jones on the wing, or pop Al Hawley in the back line and Roberts plays wing, or you just rotate them.
I'm sure those guys would prefer the term more experienced than elder. But
sorry.
Anyway, we know what you mean.
No, elder, absolutely. More experienced. Elder, what am I saying? They're not elder. They are young, more experienced. That's exactly what I meant. Sorry, guys.
Other
what
than
would
that,
I know you're in the camp of just play the kids. You say that to me often. Would you just do it? Would you just bring in, instead of just like tinkering with placements and positional adjustments, would you just bring in a bona fide small forward who can replace Gresh like for like?
Well, I guess there's a few things at play. Yes, when in doubt, I'd love the kids to come in. However, you also want them to sort of earn it to a certain extent, and ideally that sends a message to everybody who's not playing in the seniors that you do have to earn a jersey. So there's that element, and there's also the element that you want experienced players with the kids because that helps them develop also, and helps them in game. And particularly with some of the dirty Sydney players running around, although one's about to be rubbed out, you need someone who can stand up to some of their kind of low-level bullying.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it might be a case. So I think Shield might come in and then they try and, he comes into the midfield and they maybe, even though he's entirely unsuited for it, but maybe try Hobbs up forward or something like that, just because he is an experienced.
You're bringing Caldwell and Shield in.
I think that might happen, yeah. Based on what Brad Scott's kind of history is. And
all
he tends to bring in. You don't reckon?
They haven't played as yet, no. Sardis, Caldwell, Setterfield, Hobbs, Shield, they haven't all played. No way. That's impossible. You can't carry them all.
But I don't think we'll try. I reckon he might just. I reckon they both might come in, and then he'll try and solve it via.
But who goes in? You have to drop Setterfield or Sardis or both.
Well, he might try Shield at halfback and throw Nick Martin up forward or something like that. That's what I suspect might happen. That's
okay.
But we shall see.
That's a left of field. I definitely think a Wicker could come in, but I just don't like that. There's less. That's just a very young forward line, and Peter Wright will definitely help him, and Langford will help him, but that's just a very, very young forward line. I think he's much quicker, speedier, much more agile than I thought he was. I probably think, he'd be ready. He'd be fine to come in and play a role, and maybe even a defensive role on Roberts or Sydney's Roberts, or one of their smaller defenders. But just worries me that there's not enough more experienced players around him to really give him a chance to actually succeed. And in terms of Vigo, I completely agree with Jez. Watching him live on Friday, absolutely not ready. There would be absolutely no point bringing him in.
Can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
In the world where Goldie doesn't come up, and I think that's realistic because he ran out the game so poorly through no fault of his own at all, quite obviously. I admire everything he's doing for this club, and I admire everything he's bringing. But in a world that he doesn't come up, because whether it's this week, it's not going to be. I can't see him playing every game. What's the alternative? What do they do?
Well, you have no choice. You got to bring him in and just throw him in the deep end. But I just don't think it's going to do him any favours going up against, Brodie Grundy this week, Tim English next week, Nankervis the week after. I don't think that is going to help him. Speaking of, someone like Wicker, you could pop in the forward line there. He just plays in the forward pocket, does a little bit here and there. But a ruck is quite a central part of the game. And yes, it would. And then you jeopardise Caddy and Kako because Peter Wright's got to spend way more time in the ruck. And then you've got to consider putting Zach Reid back in the ruck because you're going to have to divide it between more than exactly. So as you say, if Goldie absolutely cannot get up, there's just no possible way. You've got to bring him in, and you just got to wait until 28th of May, and you draft in a ruckman.
All right. Anything else on the changes? But I don't think we've settled anything. I think there's lots of questions that we're going to find out in your live on Thursday. Is that right?
Yes.
Thursday night?
Yes, Thursday night. It's going to be a good one because there's going to be at least 3 changes. So 9 p.m. I will be going live. Make sure you all join me. Possibly going to have a couple of special appearances from people in the know about these young kids to tell us more about them. So definitely come by, have a chat, come on, join the chat or hang out in the chat. But yes, moving on.
So for me, the Houdini Awards, I think it's fairly easy. I think if Jai Menzie gets picked this week again, he's lucky because I don't think he was great. Ben Mackay is a conversation, and he's started to play better. I think he took a step back on Friday. Our midfield didn't help, by the way, like in the post quarter time. It was hard work being a defender for Essendon. But yeah, he wouldn't want many more games like Thursday night. But I would say Menzie's my Houdini Award if he plays, and I assume he will.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless Guelph comes in, like relatively cold or...
Oh, he barely touched it. Change. He barely touched it. Yeah, very
So
rusty.
did Jai.
No, I have to disagree on that. Again, watching the replay on the night, absolutely agree. It looked like he was in no man's land, and it looked like there was no method to his madness. But on the replay, incredibly underrated fourth quarter. He and Setterfield were the two that I did not notice at the ground, had some clutch moments, little taps, little body checks, little taking their opponents outside of an important contest. And I love now that the team are like starting to get, whenever Caco's near the ball, you watch any of the players around him back up. There's like an agreement that when Caco's around the ball, when Caco's around the ball, back up and give him space. Because if you consciously watch anyone who's around him, whether it's Langford, whether it's Nick Martin, whether it's Merritt, they consciously back up and try to give him space and to put their body in front of an opponent. And it's finally starting to click in their heads. And so Menzie did a couple of those.
Okay. I was about to ask you what's that got to do with the price of Menzie being the Houdini.
His disposal efficiency was very good. He did.
He only had 4. He only had 5 of them or 4 of them.
Yeah, but he wasn't in a position where he accumulates disposals.
I don't know. This is giving me Devon Smith BOG.
Oh,
vibes.
Are you telling me you don't trust my footy opinions? Is that what is that what I'm hearing?
No, I would always defer to your footy opinions, if only because you watch the replay a mentally unstable amount of times. But
that's yeah,
sure,
it was underrated. But it's your award, and off he goes with the Houdini.
All right. So in terms of the Sitting Joe and Smoking Joe, so for new listeners, this is where we pick the player who's going to raise their level and the player who's going to go below the level. I don't know why I'm using hand signals when they're kind of blending into my background, but you can even see the drum kit in the background when I do that.
Focus. Solution.
I'm like a child. Sorry. ADHD kicking in. You're the Sitting Joe this week, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I got one right.
I had Dersma to smoke. He had a funny old game.
I was about to say in the little segment, who's got the worst dementia? We're going to try and remember who picked what last week. You picked Dersma.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I think I pick McGrath to be the Henneman. Yeah. Not the Henneman. I picked McGrath to be the Sitting Joe. And I know he wasn't the Sitting Joe.
No, he was okay. Yeah, he was
he was fine.
Good.
I think he's found his niche, to be honest.
I think he's had a relatively good year, yeah. Aside from a few moments that it's just that when he does stuff up, he stuffs up so handsomely, so obviously. The the consequences are massive, that it's so obvious. But the rest of them stuff up just as much as he does. He's just magnified because of where he is on the ground.
It's when he spins the "where am I going to go next" wheel, and you don't know where it's going to land. That's when it becomes scary. All right, so I'm doing the Smoking Joe.
Yeah, who you got?
I think. I think Sardis. He has to play. Don't drop him, please, Brad. We've got to find out. Like, I know he's got his very obvious strengths and very obvious weaknesses. I think the whole football world knows what they are. We need to find out if he's going to be a player or not. And the only way he's going to do that is to become a clearance monster. And the only way he's going to become a clearance monster is to play. So I think he will play. I think those that were saying he was rubbish last week, I think it's very harsh for a guy that has been out and comes back in. First game. We definitely weren't getting first use of the ball in the hit-outs either. Needs to be remembered. Nor will we this week. But yeah, I'll go for Sardis, and I'm really hoping as much as anything. Am I mad?
No, I think he needs all the help he can get. I was one who thought he was pretty poor, basically because he looked more tentative than he usually looks, and it's not a word I would usually use for him. It's something you can always lay at his feet. Is always really aggressive, head over the ball. I thought his disposal was okay. I don't know if the stats back that up, but I just thought he was just energetically a bit tentative.
I think it's okay to say he was poor. No problem with saying he's poor. People do, people go over the top. People just. But in terms of it being harsh,
in terms of it being harsh because he's been out of the game, like I think we've got to stop giving him that excuse. Like you've got to be able to just come into the game, like come back in, find your groove, and yeah, it maybe is a little bit harsh given he's still a very young player. But I don't know.
I think he deserves.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. I think it deserves a month. So he deserves a month of playing. By the way, I've got my 80-year-old neighbour knocking on the door.
What does he want?
I don't know, but he's
cup of sugar.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Sorry, carry on. Where are we? No, you're doing the sitting, Joe.
Yes, I would hate for them to drop Sardis to bring in Shield. I would absolutely loathe that. I'd be really filthy at that, but we will discuss it. It's good talking points for Thursday night. Sitting Joe, unfortunately, and I hope it doesn't happen because he's bringing me that much joy. My joy levels every time I see his face and how much he is frothing being on an AFL ground, brings me so much joy. I can't quite contain myself, but I'm going to go Caddy.
I can see that. I don't think it's a bad shout just because he played, I think, his best game for the club, and he's 19.
It might be a crash.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I hope not, and I hope he's got, full of confidence, and he's certainly walking taller because of 2 Metre Peter, who's been exceptional as a leader down there. Kako, they all walk taller around him down there. So, Paddy.
Sorry to interrupt. Because you deserve it, do you want to bask a little bit in Peter Wright's last quarter? I know much has been said about Zach.
Need you ask?
Please.
You
deserve it.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Heroics, absolute heroic, game saving. You know what is really amazing for the people who say it was just North Melbourne. It was just North Melbourne that he played well against. A tackle on the line when a forward is about to go and ice the game. That could have been Toby Green, and he would have tackled him over the line in the same manner. That could have been, Myercheck, any other player. It doesn't matter that it was Jack Darling and what colours he wears. So his contested marks, doesn't matter which defenders are with him, a contested mark is a contested mark. So he was exceptional. I think he was good throughout the whole game, to be quite honest, aside from his goal kicking. But come on, doesn't he get a pass mark for that? He has been so accurate for us for so long. For that, he can get a pass mark. Because
that's an aberration, his kicking. That's an aberration.
Correct. If he does it again this week, I will put my hand up and I'll say, come on, Pete, what's happening? But he was a leader. It looked fit. He was down in the trenches late in the game. He was getting up and back. Looked confident. Didn't even look like dropping those marks. And he looks like he's happy within himself as well. So I could not be more pleased for him. I'm just so incredibly proud and pleased for him. And glad he got recognition, and you could see the coach was brimming with pride talking about him.
I expect him to exercise the Sydney Demons from last year this week and have an absolute banger.
Wait, did he play in at Marvel last year against them? That's a good question. In August when we played them?
I don't think so. Didn't he get injured? Or was he even dropped at that point?
He may have been dropped, yeah.
I mean, Papley's not playing, is he?
No.
He's still injured. Yeah, because I said on our podcast that he was going to take a running chest mark, and run through Papley, and that Papley was going to get suspended for extreme tunnelling. Unfortunately, that can't happen.
What a fantasy that is.
Yeah, but I honestly think he's going to absolutely exercise the Demons and have a monster this week. 6 goals. I know that's not a segment. That's not. That's nothing to do with the smoking sitting Joe. But yeah, that's what I think will happen.
That's amazing, and I would love that. And he deserves it. I mean, I know he's kicked already a bag this season, but he deserves it. And do you know what? I'm at this point in time where I'm like, I don't even care if it's Caddy who kicks the bag, Langford who kicks the bag, or him, because finally they're just developing their chemistry, and that's all that matters here. And Kako is reading, and the other thing that I always put on him, and that he is exceptional at, he did not get outmarked once. Not once. He halved every contest. So he's done that his whole career, and he continues to. And the more Kako plays with him, the more Gresham plays with him, they'll read the fall of his ball, the fall, or where he likes to tap and where he likes to position his body, and it'll become second nature soon enough.
How old is he, by the way?
28, 26, 27.
Yeah. So that's a fair spread. Mid to late 20s. As you look it up, always
he's
say
28.
28. Key position players, particularly really tall players, and particularly ruckmen, but even to a lesser extent, key forwards take longer to develop. And I see no reason why you can't continue to improve. Absolutely.
And he's a bit like Merritt. They will have long careers because they're the two most diligent players that the AFL will have ever seen. No one protects and treats their body and their game with as much focus and attention to detail like those two do. As I said, the information I get all the time is it's those two watching footage over and over again, first in, last out type thing. So they will stretch their careers because of it.
All right. So we move to predictions. Now it's 4:15 on Saturday.
I love it.
Bearing in mind we played Thursday. I know you like it. It's a weird time. But yes, we played on the Thursday. Reminder. Sydney played Sunday. Is that right, or Saturday?
Sunday, yesterday, yeah.
Sunday, okay. So that's 2 hour advantage. and it's down here.
Yep.
What do you think? Now, bear in mind, I should say this before you give your prediction. We have been uncannily accurate, I reckon, through the year and the half that we've been doing this, or however long we've been doing these forecasts. And that was shouted out by, was it Tony Shaw? She shouted it out
Vince,
on Twitter. Vince, I beg your pardon, on Twitter, who mentioned that. So get your pens, get your paper. We rarely miss. Take some equity out of the home.
No,
take the university fund from your kids' trust, and get ready to make some money. Sorry,
I'm going to have to leave the country. These are big promises.
I won't need to. I'm incognito.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God. Look, I don't think we're going to win. Unfortunately, I think one injury too many. It's really going to test our depth. I think it might be a 33-point loss.
Yeah, I think that's
not. I think we'll put in. Sydney Swans have been pretty good starters, and they were very good starting the game against the Giants over the weekend. But I think, ultimately. But they're a funny team to get a read on because their injury list is probably the worst in the AFL, and to really important key players. So,
well, you know that because Francis is getting a game.
Exactly. Joel Hamling, exactly. You're spot on. If Aaron Francis, who is at best depth for them, is getting consistent games, not as a sub, they are, they're peaking in terms of using all their depth. So
did they just fire up because it was a local derby, or was GWS that bad? I watched a bit of the game.
I think GWS...
By the way, speaking of ex-Essendon players, sorry to interrupt, I didn't think Stringer helped GWS's cause much. He did kick a goal.
3 goals in the last quarter.
Yeah, but did you see him fall over at the crucial moment?
Of course, he did nothing.
I'm focusing on the negative, of course.
Okay, well, he did nothing to help them defensively, didn't lay a tackle, I don't think, that I saw anyway, but he did kick 3 goals. And that's what he does. He pops up and takes.
Yeah.
If they had a 1, he would have taken the credit, and felt, he contributed to it, of course, but he wouldn't have done much to help the team battle away getting there. But no, I don't think GWS were shocking. I just think Sydney were. When I watch them this season, I feel like they get it inside 50, but they're a bit like Melbourne. When they get it in there, they're so inaccurate. It's not only the way they deliver it in, but translating that into a score, I'm sure the stats would back that up, has been really low. The one thing that we have not been good on this year, and this is where Kangaroos almost got us, is the inside 50 tackles. We are bottom last, second last, only worse off to Richmond. So the Sydney Swans have been pretty okay in that department. So we really need to up our pressure inside 50 with some more meaningful tackles and scoring that way, scoring off the turnover and tackles in our forward 50. So in terms of reviewing these two clubs head to head, we're very, very similar in terms of the metrics. We're even on contested possession, hit outs, very similar, tackles in general, but the one metric that really stood out to me was the inside 50 tackles.
Yeah. And it's kind of a tight ground too. It kind of mirrors the SCG a little bit. I don't know if the stats bear this out, but I suspect they do better at Marvel than they do at the MCG, or it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I can see Goldie running out of steam again. I mean, we really just were hanging on the.
I don't think Brodie Grundy's been in great form. I think personally, I think he's just. Yeah. I think he's just going at mid-table.
I don't think he needs to be. It wouldn't surprise me if Goldie gets subbed at 3/4 time this week.
If he
And
can.
they just, yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he would have been the sub.
Yeah,
and they would have just like freestyled between maybe Reed, 2 metre, even Caddy, whoever can jump. Probably Jones would have been cannon fodder in the centre bounces. But anyway, I would say my prediction. So what did you say?
33.
33. I reckon 36.
So, God, the lizard worries me. He just kills us every freaking game. Kills us.
Blakey. Yeah, we need. What kills lizards? I know a mongoose kills snakes. Can a mongoose kill lizards? I presume so. A hawk, maybe.
There has just never been a more fitting nickname for a player. When I look at him, that's all I see now.
Yeah. And he looks like the frilled neck lizard. You know, the Australian frilled neck lizard. There's got the big sort of frilled neck, and hence the name.
And the thing he loves most, which we play into a lot, he loves the chaos ball. Loves it. And we are very good. Think about that time. Chaos.
And we like to escort running defenders out of our forward line. We roll the red carpet down. We give them TMZ gives them an interview on the way out. They show off their new frock and they just roll through unimpeded.
Yeah, it's funny because it's funny, like it's terrifyingly disturbing, but and I think the likes of Rampy and who's their other? I mean Blakey, but who's Lloyd? I think they're elder, more experienced players really stood up. Not elder, sorry. Although Rampy is elder. I mean, it feels like a million years ago he was on that post and he's still frigging around. But their more experienced players just absolutely stepped up. They bounced off half back and just disallowed GWS to get any fluidity in ball movement. So we're going to have to I hope we play a bit of a defensive forward. Not that we have many. Maybe Perkins can go to Rampy or even can Perkins. Do you think Perkins can play a forward role on Blakey?
No,
or is not athletic enough?
Oh, I think he's athletic enough. I don't know if he's got the wherewithal, and the discipline's a good word for it. Maybe if he's fit. Even though he barely touched it last week, maybe that's Guelphy's. Maybe Guelphy comes in and does that. He's done it before.
Yeah, no, he's not. No. He's another three, like minimum another 2 run-through VFL games away from being match fit. Yeah. But if we can get one of them occupied, Rampy. Or Blakey, that will really help us because their forward line they're a bit like us in terms of there's just no chemistry because they've got filler players. They're playing McCartney down there. So I think our back six should really hold up. And in the midfield, we've got weapons to play on their weapons. Heaney and, I would put Durham on Chad Warner. I think he does the most damage. So, yeah, he went at a really high disposal efficiency rate and had 24 pressure acts just by himself. So he'll be really dangerous, but I think we can cover. Now that Caldwell's back, that gives us another weapon in there.
And despite all that, 36. You know what I can see? 33. Yeah, I can see it being really tight for through the game, in game. And them just scoring easy goals, just to halt our momentum.
Yeah.
That
day.
Yes.
Where they just last quarter just bumped up their score.
Shall we move to the couch?
Couch time.
So, now I had a couch question. I've lost it. Only trolling you. So the couch question for those, so for new listeners, The couch question is usually non-game related, at least. Can be Essendon related because Essendon does cause us a lot of pain, both mental and sometimes physical, as we bang our heads against walls and slash wrists and try to jump off buildings. So any question you want to ask, if you go to Fiona's Twitter handle, which is...
It's a good question. Fiona Rose T.
Fiona Rose T. There's a Not Gonna Lie link where you can go and submit questions and we will answer them. So you're basically coming into our virtual couch and you're asking Dr. Fiona a question. All right, I've rabbited on enough. Are you ready for this question?
What have you got for me?
I got fired last week. Should I start an OnlyFans? I got fired last week. Should I start an OnlyFans?
I'm so sorry to hear that. That's not fun. Look, I have been asked that question many times. I have also thought about it a few times, in obviously with only a flicker of, actual seriousness. It would be the easy way to make some money. I don't think you should, but it would be easy to make some money that way. But from what I hear from people who do OnlyFans and who sell feet pics, there is a lot of maintenance. Have you heard that?
Do you mean body maintenance or do you mean...
No, I mean in terms of getting your profile out there and it being seen by the weirdos or the people who have fetishes in specific areas and actually buy your content. Like you have to be, it's a bit like content creation on YouTube or anywhere. You have to be really, really consistent with the footage and the content to make any kind of real money on there. So I think if you're thinking that it's an easy way out, I don't think it is. I think you'd be better just going to go to the local cafe and get a job, waiting tables.
Couple of questions. What if their actual day job was as a stripper? And so it's basically the same industry. They're just working for themselves.
Yeah, well, that would be a seamless transition, I guess. But I dare say that this question is not from a stripper. I mean, I'm making a very snap call there, but yeah, it's hard times, isn't it? I'm so sorry you got fired. Hope you're okay and I hope you're managing okay. I mean, it's so tempting to just find an easy way out, isn't it? Like, and what sometimes I think when I think, oh, maybe I should just start an OnlyFans, is when you hear reports about these women like earning that much money and they've got a house in, Maori and in the Bahamas and a villa in Bali. But you know what? Do you know how rare that is? That is just 1% of the population of people who upload, if that, content.
I'm sure it's like 100%. I'm sure it's like when you hear people that win money off sports betting. For every winner, you don't hear about the people that have lost their house and their family. Although can't you open an OnlyFans like without it being sexual content? Is that a thing?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't that just... So what are you saying you want to upload?
I don't know. Like you can. I don't know. You might be a baker, for example, and it's just like selling a subscription. Like it doesn't necessarily need to be content. I reckon. My advice to this fellow or girl or whoever it is, lady, is if you're looking at side hustle, go for it. And I can get into this NDIS stuff. I'm hearing a lot of people, you can do a course and then NDIS is the national kind of health scheme where there's people who are, for example, lonely and they just want someone to take them for a walk. Or there's people that can't clean their house and they get funding to pay people who are accredited to do that for them. So you can go on these exchanges apparently, and someone will say, I want to go for a walk in the park on a Sunday, and they'll actually pay you money to take this person for a walk and just,
So is it a
be
direct
company
you
for
just
them.
sign up for it?
Yeah, you got to do a course, I think, and go
Oh.
through an onboarding process. But I think it's a bit
Okay.
like, we've discussed this before. The measure of anything is how you feel afterwards, how you feel the next day, how do you feel a week later. You'll feel good about yourself if you're helping someone.
Yeah, I think always acts of service is always how you, what you are doing. What are you doing that is helping someone else be, feel better, be better. So, yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. Getting back to the OnlyFans thing, I'm pretty sure that's just like explicit content. Is it not just a home for explicit content? Like you can't go on there and just bake a cake unless you're naked baking a cake.
There's a niche. I'm sure that's a category. No, I think in theory, you can create a subscription service. Like there's a famous.
I've been in my head. I've had it all wrong. I thought OnlyFans was literally just to get your clothes off and sell sex, basically.
No, there's a famous jiu-jitsu practitioner called Craig Jones, and he's got an OnlyFans, and he does things like people pay him money to shout out his cousin's birthday or things like that. So apparently,
okay, so
you can. There you go. See,
wow.
Got to get your mind out of the gutter.
I don't know why I assumed. Maybe because it's its main.
I would say 99.9% of their revenue is from sexual content. Don't worry.
Okay, well then my mind was in the right place then. But I had no idea. I thought everything had to be all right. So but again, you need a really good idea to be selling something that people are going to want to consume and pay money for. I've just heard that it takes a lot of maintenance and but if you have time and you are unemployed, why not?
Yep, whatever you pave your own path, but I think the general advice is don't do it. Is that right? Seek out alternative sources of income.
I mean, that would be mine. If you had to make me leave with a really bland piece of advice, I'd probably take a walk down to the local cafe first, or do what you did, sign up for taking someone for a walk. That sounds pretty good.
Yep. Okay, well, there's your answer, Jez. Oh, sorry, I wasn't meant to give the name away. A little Windsock inside joke. Hey, thanks very much, Fiona. Thanks to everyone that listened. We're still this collab, Windsock Bomber Banter collab. We've kind of established. I'm not going to repost this on YouTube. Like, if you want to watch the video version, go to the YouTube. Go to Bomber Banter. That's its home. I will post a corresponding audio on the podcast apps, which is where most of our activity is anyway. So, it's kind of the housekeeping bit.
Yeah, so you will be able to listen to it via podcast in podcast form, because I know YouTube is not for everybody. Although, if you can manage to stream it on YouTube and even just have it going in the background, turn down the volume, that would be fabulous, and I would really appreciate it. But yes, you can absolutely get the forecast the way you always get it via YouTube. I mean, your podcast stations. You
can't get enough forecast. Like, surely people listen multiple times. All right. Yeah. So don't forget to check out the Windsock sponsor, Something About Cake, which is...
Am I still though? I don't know.
Actually, I don't know.
Then you might be having to make a choice sooner rather than later. Podcast member or sponsorship?
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. No, you've been a great patron of the Windsock, so Yeah,
Not me.
if you want a cake. If you want a cake, check out Something About Cake. Yeah, otherwise, thanks to everyone that listened. And do you sign off or I sign off? We still haven't worked it out.
Yeah,
You boot me out, is that right?
I will give you.
You want me to fuck off? That's what you're telling me.
We are keeping the organic nature of this. I won't be editing any of this out. I'll be. He, in true form, does not remember what I told him or how we did it last week. So, in true nature to the Solutions way of rolling, I'm going to keep this in for you. Thank you, Solution, for being here for the forecast yet again. I really appreciate your time, and I will chat to you soon.
Peace out.
Bye. Okay, that is another forecast done for the AFL season, round 9. I hope many of you are getting down there on Saturday. Of course, I will see you Thursday night, 9 p.m. I will pop the link out on all the socials. It's going to be a really good team selection, lots to talk about. Hopefully, I will be having a pro who knows all about the draft and has really learnt a lot about the kids we've got running around in our VFL. So who will be able to tell us a bit more about whoever is debuting. I'm sure there's going to be at least one, maybe two. So I will leave it there for now, and I will see you all on Thursday night. Okay, bye.